I was in church. As long as I can remember, I was going to church. We went to church on Saturdays. And growing up in church was very interesting. For me, growing up, I didn't necessarily go to church by choice. It was one of those, your parents did it, therefore you're doing it. There really isn't a lot of I want to, I don't want to. So for me, church was an obligation. But it's also very interesting because when you're and I'm one of those people, I went to the same church. I've only been in one church my entire life. So I wasn't that person who was church hopping. I wasn't someone who went to multiple churches growing up. It was one church. And so being in one church for the rest of your life, you really gain a deeper understanding of how people in the congregation work and function, right? So it's like growing up, I'm seeing the same people. I'm seeing these people grow up. I'm seeing people get married. I'm seeing people break up. I'm seeing people have kids. I'm seeing their kids come in and out of classes, coming in and out of church, in and out of class. And so church for me growing up, it was a very strong church community. Were folks the kindest? No. Were folks the nicest? Also no. But did everybody know each other? For the most part, yes, right? And even if you didn't know anyone's face, you knew oh, that's such and such son, that's such and such's daughter. It was just kind of like that grouping. That's how people in the church knew each other, just by face. And so it's something that was very communal, something that was very close knit, and also people were wilding. It was heavy dose of the church politics, right? And I feel like being in the same church for over 2 decades, you really see how the church politics play out with the ushers, with the elders, with the brothers, who's having an affair on their partner, who's cheating on their wife, who is out here talking about the scriptures and the lessons, but whole time they scamming, people who would be doing drugs in the church. It was a wild time. So was the community always peachy keen? Absolutely not. I still have a lot of complex feelings about the church, but growing up, it really became an extension of family, even if I didn't necessarily consider them folks family, right? Not family in the sense of we're blood, or anything like that, but it's I genuinely have spent 20 years just growing up with this whole community of people, regardless of our relationship to each other.
So for you, church was heavily social in building relationships and having those outings.
It was heavily social. I learned a lot about people and how they work. Did I socialize with a lot of people? No. And so I feel like there wasn't a lot of socializing for me, but my parents, they were very active in the church. They were on the committees, the feast committees, the repast committees. They were very vocal. And so growing up, especially as a young girl in the church, and we can get into how gender impacts people's experience in the church, but growing up as a young girl, I was really a wallflower. I didn't talk much. I didn't do much. I wasn't joining the choir. I wasn't joining the committee. I'm not doing all of that. My parent asked me once if I wanted to join the choir. I cried, because no, honestly, I don't even think the children's choir sound good. But for me is where I really started to truly understand how people work and how people operated. I didn't necessarily build any close relationships outside of my family who continue to go, and outside of really close family friends. And that is a handful of people, less than 10 people over the last 20 years. So I wasn't doing a lot of socializing, but I had the ability to really blend into the background and just observe a lot. And that's where I really learned a lot about church politics, about church culture, about how people operate, especially people who hold positions. So it was social in the sense of I was around a lot of people. I got a really good understanding of how people operate. But was I a social person in the church? No.